What happens when a late-night TV slot, a veteran Hollywood producer, and a network looking for something a little steamier than standard primetime programming come together? A crime drama is born, but not the kind built on gritty streets and hard-boiled detectives. This one traded trench coats for designer jackets, stakeouts for poolside murders, and gave its audience a weekly mix of glamour, temptation, and homicide. So how did a sexy cop show that was never meant to be taken seriously end up lasting 8 seasons, build a loyal fan base, and turn into a TV time capsule of the 90s? Let's find out. This is the history of Silk Stalkings. Silk Stalkings didn't begin life as a prestige crime drama or a network tentpole. It was built for a very specific purpose: to fill a late-night gap on CBS, where the network wanted something a little edgier than its daytime and primetime lineup. Stephen J. Cannell conceived the idea, who was already a name in television thanks to shows like The A-Team, 21 Jump Street, and many more. But Silk Stalkings was going to be different from those shows. It was designed to mix glamour, murder, and sex, and every episode opened with a setup, usually involving rich people behaving badly before the detectives arrived. The setting was Palm Beach, Florida, a place where money, lust, and social status could be used as motives just as much as jealousy or revenge. The premise was kept intentionally simple. 2 attractive homicide detectives investigate murders among the ultra-rich. In tone, it felt like Miami Vice meets soap opera, and reviewers at the time jokingly called it moonlighting with more underwear. The casting of Silk Stalkings started with 2 faces the entire series would be built around: Mitzi Capture as Sergeant Rita Lance and Rob Estes as Sergeant Chris Lorenzo. Rita carried the voiceover narration, speaking to the audience like a guide through each case, while Chris played the confident, smooth-talking partner who could disarm suspects with a smile instead of intimidation. From the very first episodes, the show made it clear that the detectives' relationship was just as important as the crime of the week. The show opened with a theme that became instantly recognizable to anyone who watched late-night TV in the early 90s. It was written by Mike Post. Most of the score throughout the episodes was handled by Danny Lux. He got the job because Post noticed he was interested in composing and decided to give him a chance on what he called a late-night, low-budget cop show. The combination of Post's theme and Lux's background music gave Silk Stalkings its own sound that fit the show's mix of seduction and murder. When the series first aired, it wasn't treated like a major network show, but it still built a solid enough audience to stay alive. When CBS shut down its entire late-night crime time block in 1993, most of the shows in that lineup were dropped. Silk Stalkings was the only one that survived because it already had a co-production deal with USA Network, and they decided to continue the series on its own. That move is what allowed the show to run for 6 more seasons instead of disappearing after 2. By the mid-1990s, it was the highest-rated original drama on basic cable, and the network even added nightly reruns at 11 p.m. because viewers kept tuning in. The show was filmed in San Diego, where producer Stu Segal ran the entire production out of his studio in Kearny Mesa. Instead of building expensive sets, the crew used real mansions, marinas, and beaches around the city to make it look like Palm Beach. The faster pace of the show also shaped how things worked behind the camera. Silk Stalkings filmed around 22 episodes a season, so locations were constantly being reused, redressed, or swapped out. That schedule eventually caused problems in the wealthy Rancho Santa Fe neighborhood, where filming became so common that homeowners associations began pushing rules on parking, filming hours, and crew activity. The production adjusted and kept moving, but it showed how active the series was inside the city. The show also had to work within basic cable standards that changed as the decade went on. Scenes, wardrobe, and certain visual choices were adjusted depending on what the network would allow at the time, especially because the series often pushed the boundaries of what could air in that slot. There were unplanned changes during production too. Ben Vereen, who played the first captain, was in a serious car accident and the writers had to replace him quickly to keep the schedule on track. Robert Gossett played the new character, Lieutenant Hudson. In Season 3, Charlie Brill took over as Captain Harry Lipschitz, a character who stayed for the rest of the series and eventually appeared in more episodes than anyone else. Brill also brought in his wife, Mitzi McCall, to play Franny Lipschitz, which added an off-screen relationship to the show's world. During the following seasons, more changes began behind the scenes. Rob Estes, who played Chris Lorenzo, first considered leaving the show at the end of the 3rd season. That year ended with a cliffhanger where Chris was shot by an obsessed woman. The season closed with Chris being rushed to the hospital, leaving his fate uncertain. After contract talks, he renewed his deal, and the 4th season opened with a 2-part story which picked up directly after the shooting. By the 5th season, the writers finally delivered what fans had been waiting for. The 2-part episode partners turned their long-running attraction into a full relationship. During the same story, Nick Kokotakis was introduced as Detective Michael Price. Rita was promoted and later confirmed to be pregnant, just as she was in real life. Chris and Rita were married in the December episode Till Death Do Us Part, but the happiness didn't last. In the very next episode, Chris was shot and killed. Mitzi Capture appeared in one more episode before leaving the cast. Nick Kokotakis and Tyler Layton became the new leads, stepping in as the show's detective pair. Viewers, however, didn't connect with the new team, and their version of the show lasted only half a season. They were quietly replaced by Chris Potter and Janet Gunn, who took over as Detective Tom Ryan and Detective Cassandra St. John. Gunn was already familiar to late-night audiences, having appeared in Dark Justice in the early 90s. Their characters were written as ex-spouses forced to work together, and that tension helped renew viewer interest and lift the ratings again. Unlike the transition from Chris and Rita to Michael and Holly, the switch from Michael and Holly to Tom and Cassie happened with no explanation. Fans began referring to the short-lived pair as the Lost Cast. In Season 7, the detectives moved into an upgraded precinct, giving the show a refreshed setting and visual change. By the late 90s, the series was no longer pulling the strong ratings it had during its peak years, and the audience had dropped compared to earlier seasons. The exit of the original leads was a turning point the show never fully recovered from. Even though the later cast found its own rhythm and built a following, many long-time viewers never connected with the new detective pair in the same way, and the ratings continued to slip. The series finale aired on April 18, 1999. Fans hoped for a continuation or a wrap-up movie, but there was no follow-up. After the show ended, Silk Stalkings stayed alive through reruns before finally reaching home video. The DVD releases were not all handled by the same company, which meant fans had to collect them in pieces instead of getting a full set right away. The first releases came from Anchor Bay Entertainment, which put out the first 5 seasons on DVD between 2004 and 2006. In 2009, the rights moved to Mill Creek Entertainment and the show was reissued again. Mill Creek released Season 1 in 2010, then released a set that included Season 6, 7, and 8 in 2013. That release was branded The Ryan and St. John Cases to focus on the final detective duo instead of the original cast. Even then, there was still no complete series box set, so fans had to buy different releases from different companies if they wanted the full run. That changed in 2023 when Visual Entertainment released Silk Stalkings, the complete collection, bringing all 8 seasons together in one set for the first time. This made the full series available in a single package without missing episodes or split releases. In the end, Silk Stalkings lasted as long as it did because it knew exactly what it wanted to be. It wasn't trying to win critics, impress award voters, or reinvent the crime genre. It focused on chemistry, style, and a weekly mystery built around desire and danger. That formula kept it alive for 8 seasons when it was never expected to survive 2. And we're not done with 90s crime television yet. Next time, we're going back to a show that helped to redefine how police dramas were written, filmed, and performed. Until then, if you want to keep the binge going, you can watch our deep dive on Remington Steele. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.